when America's most impregnable prison becomes the stage for a daring break. One man's ingenuity challenges the impossible. Alcatraz Federal Penitentiary, known as The Rock, was designed to be inescapable. Surrounded by the freezing waters and powerful currents of the San Francisco Bay, it housed some of the most dangerous criminals in American history. For years, the prison's iron bars, strict security measures, and isolated location made it a fortress from which no one could flee. Until one night in June 1962, when three men vanished into the dark waters, leaving behind one of the greatest mysteries in criminal history. Frank Lee Morris was no ordinary inmate. Born in 1926, he had a troubled childhood and spent much of his early life in foster care. By his teenage years, he had already embarked on a life of crime, engaging in burglary and armed robbery. His intelligence, however, set him apart. With an IQ reportedly in the top 2% of the population, Morris was highly resourceful and adaptable. Over the years, he developed a reputation for being both a mastermind and an escape artist, having previously broken out of multiple prisons before landing at Alcatraz in 1960. Alcatraz was supposed to be the end of the road for Morris, the one place that even the most cunning criminals could not escape. Yet, instead of accepting his fate, he began to study the weaknesses of the prison. He carefully observed the routines of the guards, the structure of his cell, and the maintenance tunnels behind the walls. It was not long before he found a way to turn the seemingly inescapable prison into an opportunity for one last daring escape. John and Clarence Anglin were inseparable from childhood. Born into a family of poor farmers in Georgia, the brothers grew up working alongside their parents. But their rebellious nature soon led them down a darker path. They began committing petty crimes as teenagers, eventually escalating to bank robbery. After being caught and sentenced to lengthy prison terms, they were transferred to Alcatraz due to their history of escape attempts from other prisons. Unlike many criminals who operated alone, the Anglins relied on each other, forming a bond that made them highly effective in their escape efforts. They were known for their ability to work as a team, and their skills as strong swimmers would later play a critical role in their plan to flee the island. Once they met Frank Morris, the three of them formed a perfect alliance: intelligence, determination, and loyalty, all working together to achieve the impossible. Another inmate, Alan West, was initially part of the escape plan, but ultimately failed to make it out in time. West was instrumental in helping to dig through the walls and gather supplies, but on the night of the escape, he was unable to remove the vent in his cell quickly enough, leaving him trapped inside. While he later cooperated with authorities, his accounts of the escape left many unanswered questions about what truly happened after his three companions disappeared. Some theories suggest that the escapees may have had outside assistance, potentially from the Anglins family. Years later, their relatives would claim that they had received mysterious postcards and photographs suggesting that John and Clarence had survived. However, without definitive proof, the fate of the escapees remains one of the greatest unsolved mysteries in American history. Life at Alcatraz was harsh. The strict discipline, limited contact with the outside world, and brutal conditions made it one of the most dreaded prisons in the country. For inmates like Morris and the Anglin brothers, escape was not just about breaking free. It was about reclaiming their lives. Despite the risks of drowning or being shot by guards, the thought of spending the rest of their days behind bars was enough to push them into action. Psychologically, the escape plan provided them with a sense of purpose. Every day, they chipped away at their cells, not just physically, but mentally, reinforcing their belief that they could defy the impossible. The escapees showed extraordinary creativity in crafting the tools they needed. They used spoons stolen from the mess hall to dig through the concrete around the vent openings at the back of their cells. Over time, they widened the holes enough to crawl through, hiding their progress with painted cardboard. To fool the guards during nightly bed checks, They sculpted lifelike dummy heads out of soap, toilet paper, and real human hair gathered from the prison barber shop. These heads were placed on their pillows, allowing them to work behind the walls at night undetected. Even more impressively, they fashioned a makeshift raft and life vests out of stolen raincoats. Stitching together over 50 raincoats with heated steam pipes, they created a flotation device capable of carrying them across the treacherous waters. The inmates carefully studied the prison's routines, identifying the best time to make their move. They worked late at night, when the guards were least active, ensuring that their digging and tool-making noises were masked by the ambient sounds of the prison. After months of preparation, the night of June 11, 1962 was chosen. With their escape route complete, their disguises in place, and their raft ready, the three men prepared to make history. At around 10 p.m., Morris and the Anglin brothers crawled through the holes in their cells, navigating through the ventilation tunnels to reach an unused utility corridor. Moving cautiously, they climbed to the prison roof and carefully maneuvered across the structure, avoiding detection. Reaching the ground outside the prison, they retrieved their makeshift raft, hidden near the shoreline. They inflated the raft using a stolen concertina, a type of small accordion, which they had modified into an air pump. As they stepped into the icy waters, the reality of their plan hit them. The San Francisco Bay was notorious for its deadly currents, and the freezing temperatures posed an immediate risk of hypothermia. Under the cover of darkness, the three men paddled into the unknown. Whether they reached the mainland or were swallowed by the treacherous waters remains one of the greatest mysteries in American history. By the time guards discovered their empty cells the next morning, Morris and the Anglins were already gone, leaving behind only speculation, theories, and the legend of one of the most daring escapes ever attempted. As dawn broke over Alcatraz on June 12, 1962, prison guards made a shocking discovery. 3 cells stood eerily empty, their beds occupied only by lifeless, realistic dummies with sculpted faces. The alarm was raised immediately, and within moments, a full-scale investigation was underway. Prison officials and law enforcement scrambled to understand how Frank Morris and the Anglin brothers had outwitted the security of the most notorious penitentiary in America. The prison went into lockdown as guards searched every inch of the island, but the escapees were nowhere to be found. The Federal Bureau of Investigation launched an extensive manhunt, deploying boats, helicopters, and search teams along the San Francisco Bay. The escape route, meticulously planned by the inmates, left behind crucial evidence: the broken vent covers, primitive tools, and remnants of the makeshift raft. Authorities combed the waters for days, searching for bodies, clothing, or any sign of survival. But the bay offered no definitive answers. As time passed, the trail went cold, and the fate of the escapees became one of the greatest unsolved mysteries in criminal history. Even decades later, the question lingers: did they make it to freedom, or did the relentless waters claim their lives? Some investigators remain convinced that the strong currents and freezing temperatures made survival impossible. Others argue that the escapees, with their ingenuity and determination, could have reached the mainland and disappeared into society. Over the years, alleged sightings of the Anglin brothers surfaced, along with cryptic letters and supposed deathbed confessions. Yet, without concrete proof, the truth remains elusive. The Alcatraz escape captivated the public, transforming the 3 fugitives into legends. News outlets covered the case extensively, and soon, books, television specials, and films turned the escape into a cultural phenomenon. Conspiracy theories flourished, and the daring break became an enduring symbol of defiance against impossible odds. Hollywood could not resist bringing this legendary tale to the big screen. The 1979 film Escape from Alcatraz, starring Clint Eastwood, immortalized the breakout with gripping intensity. The film closely followed the real-life events, showcasing the intelligence, patience, and resourcefulness of Frank Morris and the Anglin brothers. However, like all cinematic adaptations, certain elements were dramatized for effect. The film condensed the timeline, intensified the conflict with prison officials, and emphasized Morris as the sole mastermind, downplaying the contributions of his accomplices. While the movie stays largely true to historical events, some aspects remain speculative. The real escape plan was not documented in full detail, as it relied on the accounts of fellow inmates and post-escape investigations. The film's depiction of the prisoners' day-to-day lives, their relationships, and their interactions with the guards adds to the intrigue, but is not entirely verifiable. Despite these embellishments, Escape from Alcatraz remains one of the most accurate portrayals of a real-life prison escape in cinematic history. The legend of the Alcatraz escape persists not just because of Hollywood, but also due to the gaps in historical records. Official documents confirm the preparation, the methods, and the missing prisoners. But what happened after they reached the water remains unknown. No conclusive evidence has ever surfaced, leaving room for speculation and continued investigation. The absence of clear answers has only fueled public fascination, turning a real-life event into a mystery that refuses to fade. The escape from Alcatraz transformed the prison from a symbol of inescapable punishment into a monument to human resilience and ingenuity. Though the facility officially closed in 1963, its legend lives on, drawing thousands of visitors each year. The prison's eerie corridors and rusted cell bars serve as reminders of those who dared to defy it. Documentaries, books, and television specials continue to explore the escape, each offering new theories and interpretations. Beyond its historical significance, the Alcatraz escape represents something greater, a testament to the unbreakable human spirit. The idea of overcoming insurmountable odds resonates deeply, making the story of Morris and the Anglin brothers not just one of crime, but of determination and the relentless pursuit of freedom. Their escape challenges the notion of the impossible, proving that even the most secure walls can be outwitted by those willing to risk everything. Yet, the unanswered questions linger. Did the escapees succeed in vanishing into the outside world, or did the waters of the bay claim their lives? Without definitive proof, the legend of Alcatraz remains an unsolved riddle, one that continues to captivate and inspire generations. Escape from Alcatraz stands as one of the most daring and mysterious prison breaks in history. From the meticulous planning to the dramatic execution, it remains a case that defies resolution. Frank Morris and the Anglin brothers may have either perished in the cold waters of the bay or lived out their days in secrecy, their identities lost to time. Fact and legend intertwine in the Alcatraz story, ensuring its place in both history and popular culture. The human desire for freedom, the brilliance of the escape plan, and the lingering mystery combine to make this tale unforgettable. Whether they succeeded or failed, the escapees left behind a legacy that continues to haunt and inspire. Proof that even in the shadow of an inescapable fortress, the will to be free can never be fully contained.